Hey everyone, Red Rebel Jeff Jones here. I went to the Ireland Uncensored Free Speech event, and it was an interesting day to say the least. Now, the event took place on the 16th of September, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't sure what to expect. I don't go to events like this that often. I do hope to go to more of these in the future, but I don't have much experience. The set of speakers were really good, the speeches they gave were really good, the venue, ODS Concert Hall, brilliant, and the attendance, I was actually very pleasantly surprised. It was a very well attended event. Now, the event was introduced by Ben Scallon of Gript Media. Now, and he gave basically a very general speech about not just the hate speech bill, but also kind of speech in general, about how important free speech is. I do like Ben. He's really good, and one of the things I like about him is that he puts humour into his points, so it is easier to digest them. I think it was a really good introduction to the rest of the event, because he didn't really overshadow the event with an amazing introduction. It was really good, but I think it was the right level of kind of it needed to be good but not too good. So then it went into the panel itself, the free speech panel. Now, the free speech panel was made up of John McGurk of Gript Media. There was Senator Sharon Keoghan. There was Stella O'Malley was there. They had journalist Helen Joyce and artist Kevin Sharkey. And they all gave really great speeches. And one of the things I really was interested in was the wide range of perspectives on this issue from each of these speakers. You had one from a black man's perspective in Kevin Sharkey. You had 3 women on that panel. You had someone who speaks a lot about transgender issues when it comes to Helen Joyce. You have a journalist in John McGurk. So, and you actually had a senator there, Sharon Keoghan. So you got a lot of perspectives on this, and I think that's really why that panel was as good as it was, because the perspectives on it was so good. Will raise one thing though. I know it's not something kind of people on our side of things like to do, but I will actually raise a point on the diversity of the panel. It was 3 women, a black man, and one white guy. So it was a very diverse cast in the way the left would like to have it. Although I'd say the left wouldn't be particularly happy with the points of view being expressed, because they would most likely, well, they definitely would disagree with them. So after the free speech panel, there was an intermission. And during this intermission, I actually got a chance to speak to Ben Scallon. I do follow him quite well, and I'm really impressed with his work. I did want to ask something, because one of the things I struggle with on this channel is really to get engagement. Not just with like comments and likes and all that stuff, but also kind of subscriptions and generally views in general. And so I asked him, how does a small commentator like myself build? And he gave a couple of good points. One was, don't try and do everything. Don't try to know about everything, because you'll get caught. To be honest, no, that's good advice. I think that's one of the areas where I was really struggling. I have tried to talk about such a wide range of issues that it wasn't really helping. That was kind of almost trying to go to almost every single audience. When he was saying focus on a couple of smaller issues, and I'm gonna be honest, that's good advice. So I am at the moment kind of recalibrating the kind of subject areas on this channel. I do suspect it's going to be mainly focused on men's issues because that's the area I know the most about. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on that, but yeah, it was good to be able to talk to him and to get a bit of advice on kind of how to build from someone who's done that. So after the intermission, there was a speech by Leisha DeBoon. Now I think she's a solicitor. Well, she knows the law, basically. As far as I know, she is a solicitor from how they introduced her. And she broke down the hate speech law specifically. And I must admit, I had no idea who she was before this event, before she went up and spoke. I was very pleasantly surprised. She was really, really good, and she broke down the law really, really well. I think with this law, there's a lot of issues, particularly because it doesn't seem to want to follow kind of the spirit of other laws. A good example of this is the search warrant provision, where you see generally I think it's only like police, like head police officers, like head guards in Ireland that can get a search warrant. But this law will allow any member of An Garda Síochána to get a search warrant. And the search warrants in this bill are ridiculously broad and ridiculously powerful. And a lot of people would say overpowered. So yeah, there's a lot of issues with this law, and I think Leisha raised a lot of great issues. So, look, I did have a conversation with some people up there that after the whole event, I kind of said that this law, if it goes to the Supreme Court naturally, now when I say naturally, I mean like if it goes from a smaller case to a bigger case and eventually gets to the Supreme Court, I'm confident if it gets to the Supreme Court, it'll collapse, it'll fail, because it breaks so much of the fundamental principles of justice, including due process and the presumption of innocence. So if it does get passed in the Shannon and the Dáil and it gets put into law, if that goes to the Supreme Court, they'll get caught badly, I think anyway. Now, after Leisha gave her brilliant speech, there was the main event. And to say this was the main event is an apt description. Now, this event was labelled as the Censorship Industrial Complex. You can see where they were going at with that name. And they had there was a panel of three. The guy coordinating it, well, I won't say coordinating it, he was basically pitching the questions to the other two. It was a radio presenter by the name of Niall Boylan. Now, I like Niall Boylan, I've listened to his show all the time. And he's not afraid to tackle the tough issues. He'll tackle issues where other presenters will go, I might get in a bit of trouble with that with the audience. Niall Boylan doesn't give a damn. He'll go, I'm going to deal with this issue because it needs to be talked about. And I like him for that. The other two on that panel was Ben Scallon of Griffith Media. So he did a lot in this event. And on the other side was free speech campaigner Michael Schellenberger. Now, Michael Schellenberger, I know because he does a lot of debunking of environmentalist claims. But I will say I was really impressed with him. I know he speaks well, but I was really impressed with him on this. And they had a real good back and forth, basically, of Niall asking questions and then both Ben and Michael responding to him. And you really got a sense of how illogical not just the hate speech bill is, but the idea of hate speech in general was. So there was a lot in that panel, and I would recommend you actually watching it. It's the full live stream is on Grip's YouTube channel. They live streamed the whole event. They're also cutting down. They're cutting out each speech and uploading them separately. I do recommend you watch them as well. As of recording this, they haven't taken out the final big panel, the censorship and industrial complex. I hope they do, because that was a really good panel. Now, after both panels, there was some questions and answers. Not nearly as much as I would have liked. The reason for this is because they were running a bit over time. They started late, and I think the free speech panel went a bit into the intermission as well. I think the last panel also went a bit over time. So they didn't have that much time for a Q&A, but yeah, I really wish the Q&A section would have been longer, because I would have liked to have heard some of the questions. One of the questions that I have thought about, and this did come up. They asked, if this bill gets passed, should we use it against them? Should we call them out for hate speech like they're going to do to us? And I think it was Ben that answered it, and it went, we have to put ourselves above them. We can't fall to their level. And I would agree with that. Although I would admit it would be so tempting to use that law against them. It would be so tempting to do it. But yeah, we need to be better. And if we do what they do with that law, we will be just as bad. And so I do agree with Ben's response to that. Now, I had some goals kind of with this event. They were to meet new people, to kind of get some content for the channel, as well as to learn more about the issue. So how successful was I? First off, meet new people. I met a couple of new people there. Not as much as I would have liked, so it wasn't a success, but I wouldn't really say it was a failure either. Get some content for the channel. I got a little bit, but not that much. I wasn't expecting to get much, but I think it has given me some kind of food for thought, which could become content for the channel. So yeah, I think that was quite successful. But I think the most successful part of this for me was to learn new things. I learned a lot from this, and one of the things I will say, I heard perspectives on this issue that, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't heard before. And it's really, really interesting when you hear new perspectives like that. And you go, I actually didn't think of it that way. And those are the moments I love, because if you can do that, where you can go, I never thought of it that way, that's really interesting, at that point. You learn. And it's only when you learn like that you can grow. That's one of the biggest issues, that's one of the biggest difference between the left and the right at the moment. People on the right want to grow. They want to get all these perspectives and learn as much as they can, so they can be better at their arguments, yes, but make more accurate arguments. People on the left these days, they don't want to hear the other side. Hence the hate speech laws that would censor people they disagree with. But if they don't learn, they can't grow. And that's a serious flaw with the left at the moment. Their inability to grow. So I think that's a really interesting aspect to this. So what do you guys think? Share your thoughts with me in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear them. I will say this. This was a very fascinating event, and I learned a lot from it, which was kind of what I was hoping for. It's not an area I talk about that often, free speech. And part of the reason was I don't know a huge amount about it. But I have a lot more information now. And to be honest, I'm a lot more confident in it. So that's definitely a success in my book anyway. So, did you guys watch the live stream? Were you there? Share what you thought of it in the comments. I would love to hear what you thought of the whole thing. And what are your thoughts on free speech? Like, free speech is the very foundation of a free society. If you're not able to speak your opinions and ideas freely, then you are not free. And history has shown that. We are able to learn from history, those who believe in free speech. I think it's about time those who are anti-free speech learn from history as well.